Welcome everyone yet again to Rice Careerwise Get Hired Summit. And for this session, we have with us Mr. GR Reddy. And GR has, even in the course of our discussions, shared such amazing insights that I can't wait to share them with you. He is the founder of an HR consulting firm called Husys, which has done very well. And also, as a passion, he has a firm that supports sport. His daughter is a gymnast and he's done extensive work in that area. So, GR, welcome to the summit and thank you for making the time.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be able to be with you and also be able to share my thoughts, which may be of great help to most of the people in need today.
I'm positive because today we are going to cover a lot of areas that I haven't covered otherwise. Because I know that you do this, you work with many HR professionals, you are also very, very active in the whole working abroad space. You're also very, very passionate about helping people understand that MSMEs are also employers, and in fact, a larger part of our population is employed by MSMEs. And most importantly, GR, I want us to talk about the outplacement bit. But before all of that, I want you to tell us a little bit about the responsibilities you shoulder at work and the nature of your work.
Okay, so I think I have two dimensions that I work always. One part, I support Husys. So Husys is basically to help these startup small MSMEs all over last 18 years. And that's the journey in terms of helping them in terms of the people management. So that's the very key. And because I'm a firm believer that the maximum employment in the corporate today is done by the MSMEs in the country. So 40% of the workforce, apart from the agriculture in our country, is actually contributed by the MSME. So I think if you ask me who are the biggest employers, SMEs are the employers. So I actually live, breathe, and eat, breathe, sleep, only MSMEs and startups from since 2002. That's one part of my job, but I think over the last decade also, my part of my time also goes into building into sports because some part of my time I spend actually helping my daughter, but at the same time to promote sports as one of the very key important aspects for children and many parents who can't really afford to leave their jobs, their EMI lives, and then help their children. So we are trying to really figure out I haven't have a solution so far, but that's what the quest that I have for the next 12 years, which is 2032. Can we see some good Olympians? Can we develop, based on our experience so far? So these are the two things that I do always.
Fantastic. And I can imagine that drive to do it because I have seen your daughter perform and she's absolutely stunning. So
Thank
tell
you.
us, what are your insights about employment across the sectors? And if, like you said, you could elaborate on the SMEs, on working abroad, and also what's going on with outplacements now. And can you elaborate a little bit that could even help our
Yeah.
talent acquisition professionals get some insights, and also those who probably are staring into losing jobs or have lost their jobs?
Yeah, so I remember just before the COVID started, we done some survey of 500 MSMEs, the CEOs, and what we really found was that at least only 30% of them were really looking at to reduce their workforce, etc., in a short term. Okay, while the second part of what is happening now in this quarter, because it's almost 6 months now, there is a quite a bit of positive mood around. While the large companies are taking out people and the large numbers are going to come in the future because we see that some of the next 1st January onwards, the financial year for most of the global companies. So probably all these contracts will come to renewal. So there is definitely a challenge for the large organizations. But small organizations don't have anything to lose because they always run very, small in terms of the, impact. So even though for a short term they took an impact, and there was some employment loss in between, but I think they are bouncing back now. So I see that there is a lot more activity in the MSME space happening. While some of the startups got impacted, those who were waiting for the funding, because funding is the key for some of them, those who focused on, I think that's something got a hit. But otherwise, we see a great progress. in the process, there is one thing that I would like to really mention here, because this is good news, is that lot of global companies, like how our small companies have gone through a short-term challenge, a lot of global small mid-sized enterprises. Again, when I'm saying global, because today the world is very small, so that means the work from home actually given an opportunity for the global companies to look at an alternative mechanism of employing people back in India, without even having to have their setup. I think that's actually on the rise. That's all such a rise. I can tell you, I think as a company, we ourselves are going to grow 100% this year, which
Wow.
means which shows an indication that the global companies are trying to really look at that wherever the talent is there, I'm going to acquire. Doesn't matter. There is no visa process. There is no cross borders movement. So I think that's actually pretty much on the raise right now. While on the other side, the large companies, what we do the contracting of outplacement for large companies when they do a transition of people across the globe. So we do for India. So we have seen a very rise in the number of people that we are supporting in terms of their career transition. So the companies would have asked them to leave the job, and then they assign it to us, and then we kind of helping them. But that's actually quite a bit. In fact, you will wonder that in 2013, 14, 15, we did extremely well on the outplacement in terms of people retrenching, and we did good business. And from 15 onwards now, there is absolutely no such business in terms of the impact of the businesses, right? But the outplacement has risen at this point of a time because the employment, especially with the large companies and especially the senior level positions have become redundant, because see, they are costly. The first acts are the ones, they are the ones. And then for them, an average of earlier we used to have, let's say, suppose a senior manager with 15 years of experience, take it any job. When we do a transition, probably in 3 months we would have actually got a job at that time. But today, not less than 6 months. Okay, so there is an impact that is happening at the mid to a senior level positions, right? And that's the trend that's happening at this point of a time. While SMEs are hiring, the junior and below manager level positions are really on the rise. Now, apart from all these, while I said that there are international companies looking at the India opportunity as the India talent acquisition, I think that's on a raise. So that means that people today don't have to look for a job in your own locality. That's how people used to use. If I'm in Hyderabad or Delhi or Mumbai, I only look for companies which are there. Now, I think that has actually, broken the glass ceiling, and then the whole world is available right now in terms of a opportunity. So I would say that today, any job seeker uh, has an opportunity to look at globally. So that means the companies which are actually abroad, they're also looking at to get a talent from here. Right now with COVID, they may not transfer them over there or whatever. So hence, actually, what they're doing is work from home, and you have a lot of opportunities coming up. So I see that these are the trends which are fairly improving well. And we just started doing one survey, which is actually yet to be announced, and probably we will be covering about 1,000 companies across the globe to understand what is an opportunity for India. This is what actually we are trying to do. And what I see so far, they see that India is going to be the biggest advantage with this pandemic happening and the knowledge workers being there in the country. And that's actually right now it's trending right now, on our survey. So these are few thoughts, for the future.
So you think in a way we are going to retain a lot of our knowledge workforce within
Oh
India as
yes,
well. It's different
retain
when we're
and
catering to other countries.
probably actually we used to talk about an employability, right? I think the employability was restricted looking at only, do I get a job in India, right? But today, the globe, do I get a job in the globe anywhere, right? So that means there is a lot of opportunity for employability of our youth going forward.
I think that sounds so positive and optimistic, GR. I'm actually feeling like we are looking at some great times. And I nearly forgot we are right in the middle of the pandemic. So I think that's really nice. What I want to understand is you said that these opportunities have opened up. What are the opportunities that you think are short term, or what are the ones which are here to stay?
So I think anything which is knowledge based and remote working is bound to stay. That's for sure. And anything who look at a very short term, anybody who looks at any career or any job for a short term, I think they are not going to stay for long. But if they look at upgrading their skills beyond what they have, so what is happening is, I'll give you one example. In the MSMEs, where do you grow, where do you sustain yourself, is very simple. It is not the job that you repeatedly do for years. And that's what happened in a large company. You do the same job for 18 years. So that means the same job you've done for 18 years. In MSMEs, it doesn't happen that way. MSMEs, what happens is, you pick up roles as you grow and as you have an enthusiasm. So that means the growth is dependent on acquisition of a new skills, not sticking to, if I'm HR, I will do only HR. And if you see the difference between an HR person in a small mid-sized company, he is able to do from hiring to firing in between everything. But in a large company, you only said that, talent acquisition manager. There is somebody who is actually talent acquisition manager. Probably he will have a team who will do only resume screening for life. So there is a huge difference between these two. So I think the future is all about how they're going to catch up these broader experience, not just in HR, but everything. I think they are going to really excel. And MSMEs are the future for our country. And they are the ones who can give a faster growth to a career as on today, including being a business owner of such companies. That means they can own the equity of a company.
Yes, I think that's a trend even I have been observing. In fact, that's something that has been advised to me as I look to start growing my own company. But it is true that with this whole with lots of senior people losing their jobs, I'm sure a lot of smaller businesses will start mushrooming as well, whether it's entrepreneurship or even
Yeah.
mid-sized businesses. Because if they're not going to find a job and they are disqualified, then of course they're going to start creating their own entities and bringing those up. So yeah, very, very interesting perspective. Can you tell us what are the primary perks, okay, and also the drawbacks, since you've worked actively in this, of working abroad? Okay, I won't say drawbacks, I'd say maybe challenges of working abroad. And also given that we've spoken so much about MSMEs, what are the perks? And we've pretty much discussed the perks, but what are the challenges of then working for an MSME?
Yeah. So first, I will actually touch upon the MSMEs business. So one thing that I've been mentioning is, because MSMEs, the opportunities, you'll be able to get exposed to multiple areas of business. That's actually, I think, is a big perk. That means that you will not stick to just doing one job, forever. So that's an actually a great advantage. While I think people do see it as a disadvantage in a short term, is the salary. So probably they may not get a salary that way. But however, tell me, and my opinion is, nobody is going to become richer by being an employee forever. Okay, or just getting a salary. With a salary, nobody can become a millionaire. Okay, you can be a millionaire only when you create a wealth. Wealth is created when you have an equity, and the equity is possible only with small and mid-sized enterprises, while at a young, while they are young. So that means today's 10 rupees share may go to 1,000 rupees, but in a large company, you get certain share today, it will not grow that much. So that's an opportunity. So I think there is a big opportunity in terms of growth in the MSMEs positively. But on the negative side, probably they may not have processes, systems in place. So you have to work in chaos, right? And hence, every part of the business becomes your responsibility as you're growing, not necessarily that I'm only responsible for some function. These are the things on the MSME side. And I see that even my own teammates who actually moved out very early to my same clients whom I actually manage, I transfer them to there. They become the president of those companies. And in 15 years, nobody will become like that. And running 1,000 crore group company, even though I am not that big as of now as a company, but they are running. So that means that's the opportunity that I'm talking about with an MSME. If you're able to put your heart and soul into it, okay, not just for the job's sake, for creating a wealth, creating a happiness in the future. Uh, while, of course, you have to manage the small thinking, changing to a big thinking. So that's a transition. That's a big one of the biggest challenge, I would say, from an MSME perspective. If you look at abroad right now, of course, with the pandemic, what's happening is I think it is not giving you an opportunity to go there. But I think one of the things that I'm actually suggesting right now is that you can always be employed in India now, right now. And once the borders are going to open into the 2021 and all that, and probably, they will have actually an ability to call you over there. But you should not stop thinking that, the typical thinking that, okay, going abroad and working means you are actually go and work. It is nothing like that. I think that that barrier is gone right now. So hence, I think it is going to be very, very important for the people to start looking at jobs not within your boundary, just boundaryless expansion of your thinking in job search is going to be the future. And it can be anywhere, doesn't matter which country. Of course, that's an advantage that while you're here, you may get. So what I noticed is, Vinny, I think this is very important, is that when the international small mid-sized companies employ people in India, I've noticed that there are more than 50 to 80% more salary they pay than the person who's actually employed in a large company in India, right? The simple thing is they look at my dollar rate there and here. There is too much. They may be paying $5,000 for a junior person, but here at $2,000 itself is pretty high compared to a large company who has paid at a even though they are high within India. But I noticed that these are the people who get more salaries. That's the first thing. The second thing is, once you're actually ready there, probably you will actually go and earn your dollar or euro salaries later when the market opens up. The challenge that I see is in terms of the people, they are not developing the global skills, global attitude. They're only looking at very localized, jo mera college hai, how much is I get into my college and what is the environment there. I think it is a huge influence, very localized influence. I think that is the biggest challenge that they're going to face when they look at an external world, and especially the global workforce. I think that's going to be challenge. And third thing is, of course, I think if they are really going to stay back, they have to stay back.
Yeah.
And in 40s and 30s, they start getting to this kind of Mera Bharat Mahan, or my parents are getting older. I think that's a big challenge for everybody, irrespective of anything. So that's what I can say in both sides.
I totally relate to it. I started feeling it within 4 years of living abroad. I said, okay, Mera Bharat Mahan, I have to come back. And I also just got back. But that was many, many, many years ago.
So you have done a wise thing. So one of the things that I do tell people, somebody who spent more than 10 years in another country, I strongly advise not to come, because they become incompetent to work in Indian environment, the kind of an environment, the challenges that we face in terms of managing people, because you are manager by then, right? You will not be able to manage. So rather, I'll say, we have actually given you away.
It took me 2 years. So even though I was really young, I was flying with Singapore Airlines. After 4 years, I came back. But it did take me 2 years to just adjust to the ways of things here. Because again,
Absolutely.
Singapore is a country which on day one is like a 5-year experience abroad, because everything is so proper, impeccable, nothing goes wrong. And then here you need to know your relationships mean a lot. It's not just systems and processes. Relationships mean a lot. Jugaad means a lot. You need to know your way. Ho jayega can mean nahi hone wala hai. So we have to understand a lot of those things, which now you're right, that it took me that time, and I came back almost 17 years ago. But it took me the time where now today I'm a part of this industry. I'm a part of India, and it's easy to maneuver things and interest around here. But interesting. So now, I know you said that it's great if people can look at a boundaryless scope of opportunities. Given the work from home scenario now, how can these job aspirants or the future job aspirants, how can they discover this whole work, on the whole global platform, and also look at gig opportunities?
So I think in the future, if anybody who don't look at themselves as a gig, they will be doing injustice to their career. First thing. The reason is that you have a lot of talent, especially the young generation have a lot of talent and very different talent and very diverse kind of a talent. And they don't mind taking risks, unlike us, who would have started within one career and you are called as an HR person forever, or you're called for a finance guy forever. I don't think that's going to happen with the younger generation. So younger generation has a lot more opportunities. And globally, there's a lot of investment that is happening on the gig platforms. So at least I know that we work with about 4 or 5 international gig working platforms, which are raised in excess of $500 million dollars to develop that platforms. So that means that there is so much happening in terms of a transaction and everything that's happening. And a lot of, if you see, even just imagine the new code of labor law in our country is also talking about gig. What does it mean? It means that there is a huge opportunity, not sticking to one company where you join and retire. So it's going to be your skill utilized by multiple people, multiple companies at the same time. I think that's an attitude that one needs to develop. And developing a future attitude, future what holds, if you really wanted to go in the future in terms of gig or global opportunities, is there is only one mantra. There's nothing to beat network, network, and network. And that's it. And my opinion always, I feel, is network is net worth, and which will convert into a real good net worth at a later point of time. So that's going to be very critical for the people who are aspiring to look at global opportunities. I think that's what I was mentioning also, that they should have an attitude of interacting with global people and global network. Now you have LinkedIn and all of the platforms which are very, very convenient. And today I can always claim that I'm actually 15 years 5 months on LinkedIn platform.
Wow.
So you can imagine my survival today is dependent on what the good deeds I have done 15 years back, and I'm continue to do that. So I think this is one thing that I would say, that if you want to make your global village as small as a village, I think professional and networks must be used, and a lot of meetup groups also you have across the globe. So that's one thing that is mandatory for anybody, so that you're interacting with people you can know very well. See, for me, the challenge was that whichever the country I used to travel, I used to write to everybody who's in my network, even though I've never met. I'll say that, can we meet? I may meet out of 100 in that particular city, let's say Brussels, 20 people I know, but at least I meet one person at least for sure. But at least making an effort of asking them actually creates that bond. We haven't met literally. Okay, so you have to be really creative in getting to your network, connected in such a way that seamlessness happens in terms of when you need support, or when you want some extension of support, that will happen automatically. And that's the network that today's world needs.
I think some great points came out actually. Just even as you were talking, you mentioned LinkedIn, which is almost like 15 years plus, which means everyone needs to start looking also, at least those who are starting their career. They have this platform, which we didn't, looking at also building a digital footprint, because that is going to 20 years down be referred to, and all that you've done in those years. I think that's just like it's something that we don't recognize when we are younger, but as we start seeing the values and the benefits of all those networks you have created. And also another very beautiful thing that came up when you said this is that it's the reaching out process. You may not have to even meet them, but just
Absolutely.
the reaching out process gave you that bonding factor, that bonding reason, and that in itself produces the warmth and the network where you can feel connected. Brilliant. I think that's really, really
And
nice.
one thing that I know, Vinny, this is the biggest challenge for very senior people, is that they feel they're too busy in the job. And of course, we will be busy always, because there is some other thing will push you. They will never take an attempt to actually create that network and work. And this is the biggest challenge that we find with the CEOs and CXOs when we do an outplacement. We have to actually teach them to know how do you start actually interacting with people, and how do you actually create a profile. वो बोलता है, yes, I have a profile, but I have never seen it, I have never gone through it. But I think it is very important that every day, at least 10 to 15 minutes, they should spend their time to creating their digital footprint in the market. Only then, when you need it, when you go, people know that you are active, you are encouraging, you are also, and also more importantly, I would always say that only start giving, never ask anything. So the more you give, the more people will recognize you, and you don't need to ask. When you need it, you will get it. And that's, I think, is the one great learning that I have had. And today, my team gets so many leads saying that I know GR. They'll not reach me, but they reach my team. What does it mean? The good deeds that we have done, and I only give. So good deeds we have done is actually helping. So it's the same for the career also. For many of the senior professionals, this is very, very important.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think great perspective. Also, the perspective where you said, this whole gig economy perspective. I think it puts it. Growing up, I had a big problem. I thought I was a multi-potentialite. I wanted to do everything, and every time you thought of doing something, people asked, "What's your calling?" That was just shooting down any kind of aspiration, right? Because what is a calling? And I now feel that you are not going to get frozen at that now. Like I said, with
Mhm.
these opportunities and with doing multiple things at a time, you will soon find where you want to immerse more. So anybody who's looking at their career and trying to find that calling, I always want to tell them also, and you brought it up so beautifully, that it's okay, do multiple things, and you don't have to have the answer. So
Yeah.
never feel shortchanged, never feel inept. You will find your way, and your way will keep
Yeah.
evolving. So it's not like there is a way which you will find 20 years later. You might be building that way along the way. And
Absolutely.
I think really, I love that point. And I know this was your suggestion that we do talk about gig economy because a lot of people will benefit from it. Me, for one, I feel that I can relate to it because these questions were not answered when we were growing up. So it's
Yes.
really nice that
Yes.
this lot will get that cushioning, that hey, it's okay, just do all the multiple things you feel like doing, and you will definitely craft your way forward.
Absolutely.
So now we have questions from the candidates, and I thought these were best suited for you. First one is, what areas of hiring are going to become fully automated, and how much of hiring is going to be replaced by AI? And if it is, then what is the contribution of a human in such a scenario?
Okay, as a HR person, I always had this regret for over last 25 years. Hiring more than 10,000 people in my career myself. Is that I never had great insights into people before interviewing. So it was always based on a gut feeling, based on how they come across, based on the mood that I'm in, or based on the mood that they are, or maybe my environment, or maybe if the day was good for me that day. So that's how it used to influence the entire recruiting process in terms of hiring and selection. But with the tools that are going to come up, I think I would only say that it will never replace a hiring decision. That's for sure. That's for 100% sure. Because at the end of the day, you take the call, right? But it is going to really give you the insights that we didn't had for more than 20, 25 years of my career. And you don't have to be a very senior person to get an insights when you have an AI and machine learning with you. So that means it is actually going to be very, very handy in terms of choosing people and asking the question that you really wanted to ask. Let me tell you, many times we do interview, but I always feel that I think I haven't asked enough. I'm still, there is a void in terms of when you finish your interview, even though you have chosen somebody, but still you're not sure. But I think that is going to be replaced by the AI and machine learning. That the entire social media profiling and the entire behavioral pattern on the internet space, and also the tools, the technology tools which are developed for the psychometric tools or whatever, is going to come in everything put together, and you have a beautiful picture about it, and you know exactly what to ask questions. So I think these are going to really help us uh, to feel good about being an HR person, being a recruiter, for recruiting the right set of people with the right set of information, which has been lacking for ages now. So I think that's going to be there forever. So the more investment that is happening, I know that billions of dollars are spent only on recruiting softwares today, as on today, not in HR. They're not putting in HR at all, because that is a long-term process. Because this is a short term, and there is so much of pool available. There's so much of complexity. Hence, I think the entire VC money is actually across the globe is spent only on the recruiting part, but it is going to ease up those process. where you can start is, you can start from where there is a set of filtration that has already been done, so you don't have to reinvent a wheel by actually going through everything again. So I think that's how it's going to be really helpful in the future.
Okay, very interesting. So there's no threat, there's just a lot of
No,
support.
no threat. No, in fact, actually, it is going to be at least HR people are going to feel good about having technology, because they're actually, it's fulfilling that they're actually using their brain,
Right.
for the right purpose, not for the wrong purpose of just choosing and screening. Actually has no meaning. We feel very sorry, for wasting so much of time.
Interesting. And what are the benefits and the drawbacks of working in an agile environment?
Uh, I think the future generation, nobody is going to be like, wanting to be like this forever. And the behaviors are changing. So hence, I think the agile environment really helps us. But however, like just a few minutes back, we talked about, especially in India, we take things for granted many times. So that's the challenge. So you say that everything, you actually, as you're going, you're kind of building and, doing something that may have an impact if our discipline is actually not there. So that's actually will be a drawback, and which is going to be a challenge for the hiring managers, for the team members. Otherwise, I think that's going to be a great thing, because people are going to discover new things as they go.
Okay, interesting. So we are getting into the third section of this interview. And this is a fun, quick hire and fire round where we'll have one line answers.
Okay.
So, my first question to you is, what is that one quality in a candidate which to you becomes a definite hire, like a sure shot hire?
uh, I'm very clear that those who speak business and mean business, not the function for which he came for interview.
Brilliant, brilliant. Very nice one. And then what are the qualities that you think, or what is that one quality which is a definite miss with you, like a sure shot fire?
I think just there's no purpose in which that they operate. Like, if they don't see any purpose of their life or purpose for themselves, what they really wanted to do, and there's a mismatch, in terms of what he's trying to do. He's definitely a, so
Mhm.
short no.
Okay.
We don't have so much of energy today spending time with them to create a purpose, isn't
To
it? So
create
it
the
has to be
purpose
with the
and
person.
will.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I know we always say, right, even when we are creating programs, is it a skill problem or a will problem? Because they're
Yeah,
two very different problems. Okay,
absolutely.
last question in this section, which is, what is your favorite interview question?
Oh yeah, it's always. In fact, actually, I never did interviews like this. I used to give all the questions in advance, and so But yeah, definitely one thing that I always would like to know is that what do they know about my company if they're coming for my interview, and what are the suggestions from a third person's point of view to be able to improve internally. This is my all-time question for everybody. So that shows the depth of their study, and that shows how much of the background check that they have done about the company. So there are a lot of other qualities that emerges with that question.
Brilliant, brilliant. Gia, this has been fabulous. I've totally enjoyed this interview. Before we go, there is this one last question that I need to ask you, that given all the insights you've said, if there was one key advice, any one key advice that you could give to a job aspirant in today's scenario across levels, what
Yeah.
would that one advice be?
It's very it's one thing I already said on the network side. So what does it mean is get discoverable is my advice. So whether you are a job aspirant, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you want to do a social service, for everything you need to get discovered. And as I said, the digital footprint, the reputation that you create for yourself over a period of time is going to give the discoverability. There's nothing to beat that today, in today's time, especially.
Brilliant. So, yes, get discoverable, guys. And I hope this has been a great interview. For me, it was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for making the time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Vinny, for giving me this opportunity. I do hope that this helps as many people. and I'll be happy to interact with people if they just come online and get connect to me on LinkedIn.
Yes,
I'll
we've
be
put the
happy
links
to
down. So,
yeah give the
so reach out, ask
further my
away.
links to them. Yes, absolutely, and start today. There is
Start
no better
today.
time than
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, dear.